If there's one thing I've learned from my book, it's how to identify places in which creativity and innovation occurs. Whether it's 1470, when Leonardo, as an illegitimate runaway, goes to Florence for the first time, or 1770, when Ben Franklin has run away from from Boston to go to Philadelphia, or for that matter, 1970, when Steve Jobs leaves college and comes to Silicon Valley. What is it that makes these places so creative? Part of it is the ability to connect these humanities with the sciences and with math and with technology. For Leonardo, he gets to Florence. We think of him as a painter. We think of the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. But in reality, he thinks of himself as an engineer and artist, because he doesn't make much of a distinction between the beauty of nature, the beauty of technology, and the beauty of art. So when Steve Jobs is doing his own creations, it's always about connecting the technology, connecting the engineering to simplicity and beauty. If you look at the things he created, you can see how with the iPhone or the iPod or any one of the original Macintosh computers, they won the market not simply because they were better technologies, but also because they were works of art. And I think that's what you do when you make sure every creative kid has access to engineering and has access to technology. For Steve Jobs, it began with a passion for the real underlying beauty of technology. When I walked around his old neighborhood with him and the house where he grew up, sort of a suburban tract house in the middle of California, he made me go to the backyard and look at the fence of the house that he helped his father build when Steve was about 6 or 7 years old. And Steve would stand out there and sort of hammer the nails. And his father said, we have to make the back of the fence just as beautiful as the front of the fence. And Steve said, why? Nobody's ever going to see it. It faces sort of weeds in the woods and stuff. Nobody will ever know. And his father said, yes, but you will know. And his father, who was an auto mechanic and stuff, built little cupboards and chests for the house, sort of a handyman. He always made sure that the back of any chest or drawers he made had as good of a piece of wood as the front. Because he said, in the end, it's the beauty of the parts unseen that make it clear that you have a passion for the beauty of what you do. So when Steve made the original Macintosh early on, he was really proud of the beauty of the case, how all the icons on the screen made those little trash cans and folders. But when he looked at the circuit board, he said to the engineers, this circuit board stinks. He actually used a 4-letter word. They said, what do you mean? He said, well, it's not beautiful. The chips aren't lined up. They aren't done in a beautiful fashion. They said, Steve, you have this computer in a very sealed case. Nobody is going to be able to open it up. Nobody's going to see it. Nobody's going to know. And Steve told them the story of the fence in the backyard of his house and said, yes, but you will know. And so they held up shipping the original Macintosh for 4 weeks until the circuit board inside could be a beautiful looking, elegant, simple circuit board. And nobody would ever see it, nobody would ever know, but he said, I want you to sign this whiteboard. All 30 engineers on the Mac team with Stephen P. Jobs, all in lowercase, the way he signed his name. And they engraved it on the inside of the case, where nobody will see it, nobody will know. But he said, real artists sign their work. And it was that type of understanding of the connection of beauty to engineering and technology that set Apple apart and made it the most valuable company. He also had a bit of what they called a reality distortion field. Something from a Star Trek episode. The people who worked with him called it that. Because he always believed that when you were doing a great work of science or engineering, you should push towards the impossible. For example, when he and Wozniak first did a game called Breakout, they were working the night shift at Atari. Steve had gone to India, found his guru. The guru had told him if he only ate a vegan diet, he didn't have to shower or use deodorant. I talked to Nolan Bushnell, who was the head of Atari, and hired Steve. He said, that was an incorrect theory, so I put him on the night shift. So he and Woz are on the night shift. And Steve says to Woz, okay, we got to do this breakout game, but we got to do it by Friday. You have to code it by Friday because we got to get back to the apple orchard. They were working in an apple orchard, hence the name of the company they eventually found. And Woz said, you're crazy. Nobody can code the whole game in, 3.5 days. And Steve had also been taught by his Indian guru to stare without blinking. And he just stared at Woz without blinking and said, don't be afraid, you can do it. Well, I said, no, you don't know how to code as well as I do. You can't. Don't be afraid, you can do it. Well, I said, I got so freaked out, I stayed up 3 nights in a row, and I coded the entire game of Breakout. Steve did that over and over again with the original Macintosh I first mentioned to you. It took about 90 seconds to boot up in its early version. Almost as bad as a Microsoft machine. And so Steve says to Larry Kenyon, you got to shave 20 seconds off the boot up time. Kenyon says, look at the code. It's really elegant. How can I do that? And Steve just stared at him without blinking and said, don't be afraid, you can do it. And Kenyon said, I went back to my cubicle. After a couple of weeks, I'd shaved 42 seconds off the boot up time. Over and over again, he does it. I mean, one of the last times he did it, which was 30 years after he had originally done it to Woz, he's coming out in 2007 with the first iPhone, and he doesn't want it to have junky plastic on the front. He wants it to have a really smooth piece of glass on the front. And so he says, I want this glass, I won't scratch, it feels good, doesn't smudge much. And somebody said, well, why don't you call Corning? They know how to make glass. And he calls Corning, and being Steve, he just calls the switchboard and says, let me speak to your CEO. And being a big company, they say, well, put your request in writing, and whatever. And Steve said, typical East Coast bullshit. And so Wendell Weeks, who's one of my favorite CEOs, is and was CEO of Corning back then. He heard the story, he heard about this. And so he flipped the script. He called up Cupertino, the headquarters of Apple, and said, let me speak to your CEO. And they said, well, put your request in writing. Steve finds out, he said, that's my type of guy. So they meet, and he says to Steve says to him, I want this type of glass. And Wendell Weeks says, well, a few years ago we developed something called Gorilla Glass. That's totally tough, it won't smudge, it's gorgeous glass. We never made it, but it had this, and Steve said, okay, take me through how it works, the formula, how you make it, that sort of thing. And at the end of the presentation, Steve says, fine, I need this much by September, because we're going to ship in October. And Weeks says to him, I'm sorry, I just told you, we've never actually made this glass. We can't do that. And Weeks just said to him, this guy sits right in front of me, staring without blinking, and says, don't be afraid, you can do it. So after the meeting, Wendell Weeks calls up a plant manager in Harrodsburg, Kentucky. Corning had a plant near Lexington, and tells the plant manager, I want you to switch over to making Gorilla Glass. Wow. And the plant manager says, okay, and he said, we can do it, we're making flat screen TVs now, but we'll get some of the stuff, and we'll do it in about 4 months. He said, no, I want you to do it next week. And the plant manager said, no, we don't, blah, blah, blah. And Weeks said, I just kept telling him over the phone, don't be afraid. The upshot is every piece of glass on every iPhone shipped that year was made in America by Corning, and every piece of glass on every iPhone since then has been made by Corning because of Steve's reality distortion field. You have to be able to push things like that.